Elazar Kaufman is going to start with Yoshi Beseser, Tzadi Aleph.
Yoshi Beseser, Yom Mitzal Shaddai Yisleinan. I'm Adonai Machsim Utidasi El Hayeftach Bai. Kuyatzich Mipach Yakosh Midavar Havayis. Bevroso Yosech Loch V'Sachas Kanvotach Tino Sechera Amitai. L'sir Mipach Alayla Mechetov Yaimam. Midavar B'Aifel Yaloch Mikatav Yeshut Arayim. Yipad Mitzilcha Elef Revava B'Mincha Elecha Lo Yigash. Rag beinecha sabed shumas shaim tereh. Ki ata adini machsiel yain nisamtem beinecha. Loisunai lecha rav negala yikraba lecha. Ki malachav yitzaveh lach l'shmacha michol derachecha. Akapayim yisuncha pendigoy be'even raglecha. Al shacha ufesen tirdoich tirmois kefir v'sanin. Kivi choshak ba'avoteyu asak beyu ki yodo yishmi. Yukeini ve'eneu ima yonechi batzara achaltzeyu achabdeyu. Ayach yam masbei v'areyu b'shuasi.
Rabbi Margaretin, the Mor D'Asra of Shomer Shabbos.
We're here to give the Kabbat Achron to Mrs. Diller, Golda, Basra, Yeshua. The Medrash tells us that three people saw Binyan, Churban, and then a Binyan. Noach saw the world when it was built. He lived through the destruction of the world, and he was around to the rebuilding of the world. Daniel saw by his vision the first Beis HaMikdash. He saw the destruction of this first Beis HaMikdash, and he was there for the binyan of the Bayis Sheni. And Eov Zok Medrash had his household, his family. He saw the destruction of his family, and he lived to see the rebuilding of the family. The Niftaris, Mrs. Diller, experienced all three. She grew up in pre-war Poland. She saw Olam B'Vinyana as a small girl, a little girl. She saw a built world, a world that she lived in. And then all of a sudden, at the age of 7, that world changed. And it was an Olam B'Churbanai, an Olam that was destroyed. But she was Zaycha to see the Olam B'Vinyanai, the world being rebuilt. She saw Bayis Rishon, it wasn't Bayis Beis HaMikdash, but she saw a Jewish community in pre-war Poland, a community of Charedim, a community which served the Rabbeinu Shalom. And she saw the Olam B'churbanai when she was sent to Siberia as a 7-year-old girl. And she was zeicha to see Olam B'vinyanai, the Torah world being rebuilt. She also saw her family and then experienced Siberia and was zeicha to rebuild the family. Mrs. Diller is going up with a huge amount of wealth. The wealth she's going up, the children and the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren are holchem b'derech Hashem, who follow the Rebbeinu Shalom's ways. Laimdei Torah, Yirei Shemayim. Chazal tell us a person is a haylech, and once they're nifter, they become an aymed. A person is a haylech, they move from level to level. But then, when they pass away, they stop their ability to move up in level. But their children can move them up. Their grandchildren can move them up. Their great-grandchildren can move them up. They never become an aymed. They're constantly haylech. They constantly go from madrega to madrega as their offspring dedicate their lives to serving the Rebbeinu Shalom. Mrs. Diller was zeicha to have children that understood the meaning of Kibbur Avei. I'm not going to go through, just going to mention Chaim Mordechai and his Rebbetzin, the dedication that they showed, and the rest of the children. The dedication they showed to take care of their mother is a lesson to all in Kibbur Avei and how one should cherish the one mother that we get. She's going now to get her eternal reward, backed up by a huge army of supporters who will continue to support and lift her and move her min madrega la madrega. They will follow the teachings that she gave them. They will pass on to their children the derech Hashem, the derech of serving the Rebbeinu Shalom, and that will be a constant aliyah to her neshama, as the neshama will constantly go higher and higher and higher. Bila hamavas lanetzach u'mocha Hashem elokim dimo malkapana.
Shia Diller, the oldest son.
Meine teure Mamua. Teure Mamua. Ich hab dich so lieb. And all the kids did. Well, Rabbi Margaretin said basically what I was going to say, but I'll elaborate a little bit more. My mother was not even 7. She wasn't even 6. When the war broke out, and my grandparents, Shia and Gittel, sent her 2 older siblings towards the Soviet lines. And they missed the family, and they came back. And in the meantime, the rest of the family, my grandparents, my uncle Leibish, my aunts Sonia, Sura, and my mother went to the other side, where they were shipped to Siberia, and they suffered. They all had typhus. Afterwards, they were sent to Kazakhstan, where it's a little bit better. And after the war, They were in a DP camp where I was born. That's where my father, Moshe Yosef, and my mother married. And my father vowed to my grandmother, Gito, that he would take care of my mother till the end, which he did. And he did a good job. And my mother, when my father got sick, she took care of him like a lioness. She gave her with kol her nefesh and kol her strength, this little woman took care of him. And my sister Susie took from my mother that same Mesirat Nefesh and Rachmanut, the Ahava to my mother, 24/7. I don't know how she did it, but she did. And she did with the help of Q, Noel, Erica, and Tracy. And I don't know who else I'm missing. I just want to say that my parents built a family for Klal Yisrael, and they did an amazing job. And when my mother goes to Gan Eden, her parents and her brother Shlomo and sister Feige will say, a job well done. That's basically what I have to say.
Rabbi Mordechai Elbaz, son-in-law.
First, I have to ask Mechilo, because whatever I say will not do justice to my mother-in-law. It would just be like the tip of the iceberg. I was very fortunate to have my mother-in-law living with me for 15 years. It was very comforting to me when I worked out of town knowing that she was there. There was never any job that was too degrading for her to do, whether it was sweeping the floors or cleaning the house or cleaning the garage. And I truly believe my children turned out the way they did, being raised by her. I have children that are 18 and 20 years old that don't even remember a day without their bubby. I never met anyone as selfless as my mother-in-law, always worrying about everyone else and never about herself. My mom was a true Eshes Chayil, a type of person every husband looks for, totally dedicated. When my shir, Olav Shalom, was not well for many years, my mother-in-law took care of him, never complaining, would never consider to put him in a nursing home. And after many years, when my father-in-law, Olav Shalom, was nifter, she always felt that she didn't do enough. When I used to take her to the Beis Ha'olam, it was a sight to see, because Besides all the tears that she shed, if it was up to her, she would practically jump in. Mom was very meticulous about fasting. We would not tell her it was a fast day, but she would never miss a beat. So we had to pretend we ate. We used to make the dishes dirty just so she shouldn't chop. Mom didn't talk much about the war, even though she remembered everything till very late in her life. But her room was right underneath mine, and I was able to hear her screaming and crying with the recurring nightmares from the war. We know Hashem sent Eliyahu Navi in disguise during the war. You see, my shver, Olav Shalom, did not have any papers that could have caused him to get shot on the spot. Instead, a person came up to him and gave him the clothes and the papers that saved his life. My shver never understood why he was deserving to be saved. I think Hashem foresaw the beautiful children and the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren that would come from him, from this shidduch. And my shver and my shviger, they never forgot that Akaras Tov. As a matter of fact, my mother-in-law used to call my shver, my shver, not by Moshe Yosef, she called him Strolok, the name of the person that was on the papers. Mom and Dad, they lived their whole life for their children. I remember when Pinchas, Olav Shalom, was killed in a car accident, they cried so hard. I know what they were thinking. They were thinking, why couldn't that be me instead? I remember my shver asking me to learn Mishnayos with him for Lilu Nishmas Pinchas. But it was not easy for him for all these years in the war. Kol haborech mina kavod, hakavod borech achrav. We know that people that run away from kavod, the kavod runs after them. It is no coincidence that Mom's kavura is going to be right next to Rebbetzin Olav Shalom. Mom is in good hands. What a big zechus that is. I could totally see them talking in their European Yiddish to another. To my wife Susie, I know it's not going to be easy for you. For many years, this was your tafkid, and you did such a beautiful job. When it came to taking care of Bubby, whether it was her medicine, her aids, anything to make her comfortable. I know you wouldn't even make a trip to the grocery store without worrying if your mother was in good hands. Hashem should give you a riches yamim for this. You should never see sickness in your lifetime. The emes is, I can go on, but the time is short and there are many speakers. To Mom, I ask Mechila for not properly giving you the kavod that you deserved, or giving you the proper help. Like always, you never realize all your opportunities till it's too late. A special thanks to Dr. Fertel for always being there, even though Mom wasn't his patient, whether day or night, he was always there for us. A special thanks to the Cleveland Clinic Hospice, Noel, and Q, who for always being there, day and night, even if it wasn't your hours, you made special trips. Thank you for being there for my mother-in-law, and thank you for being there for my wife. Also to Tracy and Aid, who took such good care of her, always trying to make Mom as comfortable as possible. We all remember Mom always asking for Mashiach to come, especially after Adolah.
Eliyahu Elbaz will read a letter written by his mother.
Dear Mommy, as I sit in here in your room, all the memories of the years you lived with us come flooding back. So many memories filled with the love you showed us every single day. I always thought that I would never be able to enter the room again. But when I'm here, I feel your hug and I hear your voice. Thank you for getting us the zechus of you living with us. Thank you for always forgetting and forgiving. Thank you for helping us raise our family. They are who they are because of you and the time you spent living with us. We are the lucky ones. Mommy, your love and devotion knew no bounds. From morning till night, all you thought about was your family and what you could do for us, and of course, Mashiach. What wouldn't you do to bring Mashiach? Every fast ended for you because you thought that perhaps that would bring Mashiach. I always say that if we all yearned for Mashiach like you did, he would have been here long ago. Over the last months, you gave us each one of my children, or should I say our children, some words of wisdom to take with them through life. You showed them what it was to be totally selfless. A few months ago, you tried to prepare me for this day. You told me that you tried, but it was going to be the time. You told me to be okay and not to cry, but I did. And like the amazing mother you are, you continued to fight so I wouldn't cry. And you did. The hospice people said they had never seen a fighter like you. Thank you, Mommy, for everything. And yes, I'm crying. But you are right. I will be okay because I know that you'll be taking care of me from above. Please be moich me. On behalf of my siblings, Bobby, I want to say thank you for giving us the privilege of you living with us the past 15 years. Bubby, the morning wasn't a morning without a good morning from you. And going to sleep wasn't without a good night from you. Bubby, you never took from us. You always just gave and gave and gave us. Bubby, the Zaman, we didn't leave until we got a bracha v'atzlacha and some cash. Bubby, we love you and we'll miss you. Mommy, what can we say? Thank you for allowing us to be part of this journey of selflessly taking care of our Bobby. Mommy, you wouldn't leave the house without making sure Bobby was taken care of and checking the cameras. Bobby, Mommy, it wasn't easy the past few months to see Bobby in so much pain. Mommy, you were amazing. And Mommy, you took such good care of Bobby that your own birthday became Bobby's birthday. Thank you, Mommy, for teaching us how to give back and how to be covered. Bobby. Bobby, we asked Mechila if we didn't do enough or if we didn't give enough cover. Bobby, please be ma'at yasher for the mishpacha and Klal Yisrael. U'macha Hashem alikem dima ma'al kol panim.
David Albaz will read a letter.
Lech Lecha, Kadosh Baruch Hu told Avram in last week's parsha, Lech Lecha from everything familiar to you, Lech Lecha to a land unknown. Mommy, you had your own Lech Lecha when after the war you followed Daddy to America. After the destruction of Europe and the loss of many members of your family, there was one goal in your eyes: to rebuild a new nation. You always had the vision of the Heim in front of you. How often did you mention how your family would go to the Belzer Rebbe? As you struggled to establish yourselves in this foreign land with the language you didn't know, you did it with a determination, a grit to surround yourself, a growing family, with a sense of happiness and well-being. You and Daddy never wanted to burden us with the churban that you had gone through. Although you had suffered so much, you were a mere 5 years old when the war broke out. You built the happiest home around. Our home was filled with friends, laughter, and your delicious cookies, which became famous as Mrs. Diller's cookies amongst our friends, and later Bobby's cookies amongst your Einiklach and their friends. How many yeshiva bachrim the world over enjoyed your cookies? Mommy, you succeeded in creating a warm and loving home where we were able to grow into our best selves with unconditional love. You respected the decisions of each of your children and grandchildren, and we were the center of your world, and we knew it. You and Daddy held Rabbeim and teachers on the highest pedestal, but Mommy, you were the greatest teacher of all. You taught us by example what the true definition of an Eishes Chayil is, and what an Eim B'Yisrael should look like. You referred to Daddy as their Tata, and you served him like a king until his last day. On Erev Shabbos, when your kitchen was like a bakery and a restaurant, combined, as you loved to cook and bake for Shabbos, when Daddy walked in, you stopped everything to make him a cup of coffee. Who can ever forget how you superhumanly took care of Daddy when he wasn't well, taking care of his every need for 10 years? It was emotionally and physically draining, but you never complained. Given the chance, you would have continued forever. You literally never stopped mourning his patira. Whenever we spoke of a Diller reunion, you said, "Nicht on the Tate," not without the Tate. And your emunah, your steadfast emunah. Without a formal education, you taught us what real emunah means. You talked to Hashem all day, and when faced with a difficult challenge, you would tell us that the Eibishter provides for everyone. You had the biggest heart around, and it hurt you when someone else was lacking something. This care extended beyond the family. When you went for therapy and one of the therapists told you she was having difficulty having children, you davened for her. And you kept asking if there was anything happened, any news. So much so that one of the siblings considered telling you that she thinks that she did have some news because she saw how much it bothered you. Your world revolved around your husband, your children, and your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. They were your diamonds. Nothing made you happier than when you were told one of your kids was expecting, even though you were the one going to take care of them when we went to work. It wasn't a burden to you. It was your greatest pleasure. And the way you danced at your Einiklas Chasnas, like a woman half your age, you were filled with sheer simcha. You were the ultimate giver, Mommy. You would buy lottery tickets and plan, if I win, I'll buy this one a house, that one a car. We could see the sheer joy on your face as you would imagine it. You would say, I have a toizen lechlich to fill. Yet you never thought about what you would buy yourself, Mommy. You were so selfless. There was never a thought about your needs. It was always about what we needed. So when we began to care for you, we were good students, but we couldn't come close to the standards of our teacher. Please forgive us if we fell short. Dearest Mommy, the words Rabbi's Banus Asuchoyel V'ato Lisal Kulona were written for you. And Mommy, there was never a Mitzapel Yeshua like you. You literally spoke about Mashiach to anyone who would listen. When you were already not responding very much, when we would sing Ani Mamin, we could sense you perking up. We felt that you were hanging on this past year, waiting and demanding that Hashem bring Mashiach. Mommy, you may have completed your mission on this world, but you know your job is not yet done. We know that you will go before the Kisei HaKavod and demand that Hashem bring Mashiach already, in the way that only you know how to, is showing sight. You are now reuniting with their Tata, finally. You will be greeted by your beloved parents, and you can proudly say that you brought their Heim to America. The values you learned from your home, you implanted in your family. We may love you more than we can ever express and hope, and we will always make you proud, your children. We'd like to thank our dear sister and brother-in-law, Susie and Mordechai, for taking care of Mommy with such special dedication, love, and devotion for many years. Their home became our home as we traipsed through at all hours. We are forever grateful. If you don't mind, another moment. I used to call Bubby a queen. Not long ago, there was a queen passed away, and at least the world called a queen, and the world made a big affair about it. However, I believe here we are being malava, a real queen, a true queen, a queen who with perseverance, determination, sweat and tears built a kingdom from the ashes of Churban Europe, a kingdom of Shomrei Torah mitzvahs and Yarei Shemayim, a kingdom of which she was proud of every member and presided over with regal dignity. I was thinking back when we had the schus of having Bubby at the Shabbos Suda. There was no grand statements, grand opinions. The Bubby was just, you're singing so beautifully. What's bothering you? Giving compliments, encouraging every one of her kingdom.
Rabbi Dov Trapper will speak from the Kohen section.
First and foremost, you have to give Hakaras HaTorah, and above all, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If it wasn't for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, nothing would exist. We wouldn't be here. Mamish nothing. Thank you, Hashem, for everything. Next, the number one caregivers, Susie and Mordechai. Can't be beat. Plus, I hear about their aides. Thank you to them also, of course. And Ma. Thank you, Ma, for being a Ma. It always pained me when I had to introduce Dad Zatzal and Ma Zatzal. I had to hear an in-law, or else they would look at me askance. What are you doing? But take a day deeper, I would say, no, take off that in-law. I was zeicher to have two sets of parents. Baruch Hashem. Ma. You're an Isha Peshuta, an Isha Tamima, the Tamima's Kate. You hit the jackpot, what Chazal tell us. The Gemara Makis at the end, from Chavakuk Hanovi, Tzadik be'emunoso yichya. Boy, you showed it. Because without emunah, whatever you do is nothing. And if you don't do anything, your emunah is worth nothing either. You have to have both. And as Yeshaya told us, Bila hamoves l'netzach, Macha Hashem Elokim Duma Meyal Kol Panim, B'cherpas Amo Yosir Meyal Kol Haaretz, Ki Hashem Diber.
Rabbi Avram Cohen will speak also from the Kohen section.
Bubby, her name, Golda, Bas Yoshua. Golda, gold, precious as can be. Precious to the mishpacha, and so precious to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In Parshas Noach, the pasuk starts, Eile toldos Noach. These are the generations of Noach. Then we talk about him, Noach is Tzaddik. Then later we speak about the children. What happened here? Eila told us Noach, the generations of Noach, say his kids' names. So Rashi says, Lamedcha, to teach you. She'ikr told us Sehem, Shel Tzadikim, Maisim Tovim. Don't rely on the kids. You rely on what you do. Bubby, every action you did, its essence was for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everything that you did was for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the bottom line is, as a Pashut Pshat also, told Hosea and their children, Bubby and Zaidi, together, built a mishpacha second to none. The mishpacha has people who finished Kol HaTorah Kula and know it. There's Rebbeim, Rabbanim, Dayanim, all around the world, from Bubby and Zaidi. Askanim, people that take care of others in other cities. And they taught the girls how to be mothers and how to walk the derech imos. You know, no one knows after someone passes, are they going directly to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or do they have to make a couple pit stops in the middle? I'm not a Navi, but if I could say anyone is going directly to Rebbeinu Shalom, it's Golda Bas Yehoshua. She did everything for Hashem and the Mishpacha, what she made. I want to publicly thank Bubby. When I was learning in yeshiva and getting smicha, how many times did I bring another kid over to her? Can you watch this boy, this boy, this boy? She was always already watching other kids. She said, of course. The word no was not in her vocabulary. It's yes, yes, yes. And she took care of all of them like there was only one kid. Bobby has a big schus, unbelievable schus. It was mentioned, and I'll conclude with this. You know, Susie and Mordechai took care of Bubby as you would take care of a princess, because she was a princess, and they did everything for her. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu pay you back, kefil keflayim, for what you've done. And Bila Hamagas Lanetzach Umacha Hashem Elokim Dimam Yal Panim, and may we all join together for only Simchas, the Vias HaMashiach. Thank you.
Rabbi Eli Elbaz.
We had the honor for 4 years after Zaidi was nifter that Mom came to live with us. And it was a real honor to have her. She was always sweeping the floor, whether it needed it or not. She was sweeping the floor. She was baking cookies. She was helping with the children, with all their needs, and playing with them and smiling with them. She always wanted to help and see more what she could do. Whenever we took her on a trip, when we would go to Lakewood or New York, as soon as we would stop at the rest area, she would jump out of the car and give me her credit card. I never used it, but she felt she has to take part. She was regal in that sense that she never wanted to impose on anybody. Once in a while, when my wife and I would have a disagreement, Bubby would always side with me. I could do no wrong. She was an amazing person. She was an amazing wife, how she took care of Zaidi. Whatever he needed, everybody has mentioned it. Everybody saw how amazing she was. Like Shia says, like a lioness. She took care of Zaidi with everything he needed. She was also an amazing mother, an amazing grandmother. And she had such nachas from all her children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. I'm sure all of the son-in-laws feel that they were the favorite son-in-law because she treated all of us so well. And I'm sure all the grandchildren, each one, if you would ask them, who do you think is Bubby's favorite grandchild? And every single one of them would say, they are. We'd like to thank all the doctors, Dr. Wolowitz, Dr. Fertel, all the therapists, all the aides. They all said one thing, that the reason why they took such good care of Mom was because she was such a good person to take care of. There's one of the occupational therapists, when my wife and Feige were trying to get Bubby ready to go to Avrami's chasana. The therapist said he was going to come on his day off that Sunday morning to help to get her into the car and that she should go on the trip. Everybody, all the therapists loved taking care of her. They would hold her hand, they would sing to her. And the reason why they did it was because she was such a good person. I'd like to ask Mechila for me, my family, if we have ever done anything wrong, or if we not show the proper kavod. Bilal amavas lanetzach u'macha Hashem l'kim dima mi'al kol panim.
Shlomo Cohen will say a few words from the Cohen section.
We're here to say final goodbye to Bubby. Every time we always came back. Our first stop was to Bubby. Our last stop on the way out was to Bubby. And yesterday, late last night, as we pulled up to Tante Susie's house, my brother Nosson turns to me and he says, Bubby einanu. There's no word in the English dictionary that could translate the word Bubby. Bubby was the quintessential Bubby. Whatever you could think, imagine in the word Bubby, that's what Bubby encompassed. We were zeichet to grow up together with Bubby and Zaidi. It was a special schus. Bubby watched us when we were little babies growing up on Tremaine. She was at all our chumash parties, siddur parties, upsharins, bar mitzvahs. My wife just texted me a picture of when we got engaged and the sheer joy that Bubby had when we brought her our collars. But it wasn't just the milestones that Bubby and Zaidi took part of. They were part and parcel. They were the fabric of our everyday life, of our life. They had such nachas. They relished in our accomplishments. And at the same time, when we were younger and maybe we got into a little bit of trouble, we always knew we could go to 2248 Fenwick, and it was fine. You couldn't do no wrong. As my sister Tzipora said yesterday on the chat, Bubby was all unconditional love. That's all it was. The pasuk says, "Allah mavis b'chaleinu." One time heard from the Rashiva Burn Reich at the Levaya of Rabbitzin Kohler. Says, "What's up is we use the word chaloin. Why the word that mavis comes into the window?" And he said the pshat is a window is something which through the window is how you see something else. It's the vehicle, how you can see something you're here, and how do you see something which you're not by? Through a window, that's how you can see it. Bobby was our window to a different world. She was our connection, of course, the world of Europe. But at the same time, even in this, she was our connection to a simpler world, a different world. Bobby's whole world revolved around her family, as of course everyone said. That was her whole life. Bobby didn't drive. She had a few friends, other Holocaust survivors, but other than that, her whole life was her family. Her life was Zadie, her children, her grandchildren. How much love went into those cookies she made. How much Yiddish hearts went into all that food that came out of that kitchen. Those latkes she fried, it could have been oil. Not one latke can't hold so much oil. It was Yiddish hearts. That's what it was. Bobby just gave and gave. She couldn't give enough. When we were, as was said by David, when we were younger and we leave yeshiva, she'd always load us up with her famous cookies. But it wasn't just her cookies, and she knew I liked the Strimel cookies, the Stelladors, and she would pack those up into my bag until the bag was overfilling, and then she would put in some money, and then when no one was looking, she'd bring you to the side and give you more money. It was never enough. Bobby just gave and gave. And even in the last few years, when the roles reversed, and all the love and dedication that Bobby put into her family, we saw the flip side when everyone gave back and put that love and dedication back to Bobby. My shver recently told me, that that's the pshat, that you mechaber your parents, if your kids see the way you honor your parents, that's how they'll take care of you, they'll be married with your life. And that's what we saw, the love and dedication that my mother and her siblings gave back to Bobby. Aber Kozman Bobby was still here. We had that chalai, we had that connection. We saw that simpler world, and now we've lost that. The truth is, and everyone spoke about this already, it's really mind-boggling. It doesn't make any, defies logic, how the Shaykh, that Bobby and Zadie built such a family. My father said, Tamdi Chacham B'Flogin, Yershamayim, Ein O'Clock, our Ein O'Clock, our Ein O'Clock. It makes no sense. How did it happen? They came after the war, no family. Zadie lost his entire family. How did they do it? My Rabbi Chaim Lubitsch told me many times that after the war, one of the Ger Rebbes, I think it was the Sfas Emes, met the Belzer Rebbe after the war, and I think this is the Pshat. And they looked at each other and they said, "Was wird sein? What's going to be?" And I don't know which one it was that said to the other. He said the Pshat. He said the pasuk says that when Yosef and that Binyamin said the Yipkal Savra Binyamin, the Yosef cried on Binyamin's shoulder, Binyamin cried on Yosef's shoulders. Rashi says that Yosef cried on Binyamin's shoulders because of the two Batei Mikdash that were in the Chelek of Binyamin that were going to be destroyed, and Binyamin cried on the shoulders of Yosef for the Mishkan Shiloh that was in the Chelek of Yosef. And the kasha is, each one had their own korban. Yosef had his two Batei Mikdash, and Binyamin had his two Batei Mikdash, and Yosef had Mishkan Shiloh. So why were they crying on their own korban? Why are they crying on Yanim's korban? And I think it was, I forgot which one, said to the other, and that's the pshat. that the pshat is when you come to Yenim Sarah, when it comes to Yenim, then you have to cry with him. You have to be there for him. And you have to be strong for him. When it comes to your tzara, that's not a time to cry. When it comes to your own thing, then you have to go, move forward and build. Bobby and Zaidi had to make a decision. They couldn't wallow in their misery. And rightfully so, and I'm sure many did. But obviously they made a decision. And we all know all the stories, how Bobby and Zaidi took care of other people. But when it came to themselves, they made a decision. And they said, we're going to move forward. And we're going to build. And that's what they did. And because of that decision, that's why we're all here today. Look, can I know how many 8 o'clock are just in this room. Our 8 o'clock from all different parts of the world. And those that are not here, it's all because of that decision that Bobby and Zaidi made. Bobby, you're going to go up to Shemayim. Zaidi's going to meet you. Pinchas is going to meet you. Your whole family is going to meet you. Go to the Kisei HaKavod. You always knew what we wanted. You always davened for everybody. They should have exactly what they need. You know more than anybody what we wanted. Go to the Baruch Shalom. Ask for Mashiach. Like everyone, like was said, it was always on your mind and your lips. And ask the Baruch Shalom to bring Mashiach.
Eliyahu Trapper will speak from the Kohen section.
Standing here today, we look around. Shlomo brought this up, and we see Ein O'Clock, B'nai Torah. They sat B'nai Torah, whether in yeshiva or working, they're still connected to Limud Torah and to yeshiva. Shlomo asked the question, what happened? Where's this all from? Zaidi, Bobby, they went through the Milchama, years of tsar, pain that we can't fathom. If we would have gone through it, what would have been? But I always tell people, a lot of people came out 2 years after the Milchama. Zaidi and Bobby, after all the chaos they went through, they were years and years. The Tzara didn't stop. They weren't Meyusha, they were in a DB camp for years. They left in 1952, somewhere around then. And still they stay strong, and they left such a beautiful Yerusha. The Mishnah in Ovis has a question. It doesn't ask that as a question. But the Mishnah in Ovis wants to know what's the difference between Avram Avinu and Bilam. And the Mishnah says, certain midas, Ein Tova, Ruach Nemucha, Nefesh Shvala, and it talks about midas. Shlomo Hayman asks the question, what do you mean? What's the difference? Avram Avinu and Bilam? It's a merchot miyam mimizrach l'mayrov. There's nothing in common. One is Ar, Avram Avinu is Ar, Emunah in the Bari Sparach. Bilam is Choshech, Finstikay. A life without the Bari Olam. Shlomo says that the difference is, that's the Mishnah wants to know, what's the Shirish Hadvarim? What's the Shirish of Avram Avinu? And the answer is, it's in the Midas. If you have the Midas, then you could come to Alamaylas, you could reach everything. But if you have Shlach the Midas, then it's Choshech. He makes an observation, it should be Punfaker. In the Dairoi of Avram Avinu was a Dar of Choshech. The ganze Welt was Evdi Avodah Zarah, and still Avram Avinu had Talmidim, he was Mekarva Dor to Torah and Emunah in the Beis Barach. And he says, but the reason is because there was a good Midas. If you have the Midas, there's always hope. Mashen came Bilam. Bilam was really in the Dar of Gilai Kvoide Yisparach. There was Yitzias Mitzrayim, Kriyas Yamsuf, the Nisim in the Midbar. But because of the Shlachta Midas, they didn't take the opportunity to grow. If there's something, Bobby and Zaidi, this is what they had, the Midas. I was speaking to my Shmaiman, our cousin, this morning. I asked him, what's the essence of Bobby? He told me Bobby would laugh at that question. There was no I. There was only Yenna. It was Zaidi. Maybe there's Zaidi and the Mishpacha and someone else. There was never an I. Avram was telling me there's nothing. There's no I. It was only Bobby. It was only Zaidi. It was the Mishpacha and other people. I spoke to Eli this morning, and he told me if there's a Yerusha for us to take, the Joshua Saran says that the Midas are something, that's why Avram Avinu went to their Mishpacha, even though they were able to have a Dezara because of the Midas. And that's the Yerusha that Bobby and Zaidi left us with. The Midas Tavis. Another point, Bobby's from a different Dar. But Berkowitz-Kumin-Bookatz, the Mir Mashkiach, he has a set of Mamarim discussing the Kaich of Maisim. And he makes an observation there. They sat in front of a Gadol, and he didn't see anything different between what the Gadol did. He did the same Maisis, the same Mitzvahs, the same Torah that the Pashta Yid learns. So what's the difference? Why by them did it make such a change into their whole person? She says that the difference was in the Tair Salev, the purity of their actions. There's no me. Nothing revolved around themselves. It was all about Yanim. It was always doing it. They weren't no other outside cheshbonis. It wasn't how people would look at them. When we do something for someone, they always how much we'll get back from it. By them, it was all pure. By Bobby, by Zaidi, when Zaidi brought Bobby's mishpacha over from Eretz Yisrael, he wasn't getting anything back from it. But it was never a question. That's what needed to be done. That's what they did. Bobby, when she made a decision that she's going to take care of Zaidi, she didn't think about it. She didn't realize how much it would take over her life. There was no other question. This is what had to be done, and it was pure. That's the difference between their Maisim and our Maisim. And the Roshan at least is a different Roshan. That's our Yerusha that we have to take away. What we saw by all our mothers, this giving, and without any cheshbonis, what were they going to get back for it? And this Bobby, when she asked for Mashiach, it was teiches the bechia from her mamish nefesh. And Mitzvah Hashem, she should go to the Kisei HaKavod and beg for Mashiach. Ubil Hashem, Hamad B'Yila Mavis L'Netzach, Mach Hashem Mekim Dimo Me'al Kaponim Neim Ha'amen.
The Kalmale will be recited by Shimi Elbaz.
El Molei Rachamim Shoichein Mamroimim Amtzei Menuchon Nechoino Al Kanfei Ashchino B'Malois Kidoshim Edohorim Gezoyarik Masirim Es Nishmas Gondo Masir Shuo Jocholoi Lomoi Mavush Mishbachdo Tidin Tzedakah Banaskos Nishmoso Biganei Dendei Menuchoso Lochein Bal Harachamim Yastireho B'Seisach Gnavon Lomim Yitzror B'Tzror Chayim Es Nishmoso Adinohu Nachloso V'Zonuach B'Sholoi Mal Mishkovo V'Neimar Amen.
Yes.